This episode of Impactually is brought to you by the generous financial support of Corey and Jack Chandler, April Collins Potterfield, David Johnson and Christine O'Neill, JLB Images, and listeners like you. Thank you. We want to let you know that there are curse words in this episode. Please use discretion when listening.
Hola, bienvenidos a Puerto Rico, la isla del encanto.
Hi, welcome to Puerto Rico, the enchanted island.
Puerto Rico, the island of enchantment and a Caribbean gem steeped in history. From the cobblestone streets of Old San Juan, a testament to centuries of Spanish colonial rule, to the lush rainforests of El Yoki National Forest, Puerto Rico offers old-world charm against the backdrop of natural beauty. The island's vibrant culture is played out through its music, from the pulsating rhythms of salsa to the soulful melodies of bomba and plena, and of course its food. My goodness, what the islanders can do with plantains and pork is nothing short of legendary. You haven't lived until you've had a plate of authentic Puerto Rican mofongo, tostones, or lechon asado. Yet despite all this rich cultural warmth and idyllic beauty, the island has been tested in recent years. Devastating hurricanes like Maria in 2017 and Ernesto in 2024 have battered Puerto Rico. Catastrophic loss of infrastructure and housing have left scars on its landscape and on its people. And amid these natural disasters, an often unnoticed crisis has unfolded and is one that continues today. While the human population struggles, so too do the overwhelming number of homeless animals. Hundreds of thousands of stray dogs, cats, horses, and pigs roam the countryside, each facing hunger, disease, injury, and neglect. As fate would have it, from the bustling boxing rings of the UK, a Golden Glove athlete took a chance on a job assignment which led her and her husband to this island paradise. It was here where she discovered a heartbreaking reality: nearly 650,000 stray dogs on a lifeline to survive. With a heart full of compassion and a mind honed by years of discipline and determination, she knew she had to take action. It's called UnderDog, and our story starts here. From the studios of Hum Productions, I'm Brooke Beckles, and this is Impactually. To understand why the stray animal population in Puerto Rico has reached such overwhelming numbers, we need to look at the bigger picture because, like many issues in the world, this crisis isn't just about animals. It's about history, economics, and culture. Puerto Rico, as you may know, is an unincorporated territory of the United States. It's a commonwealth, meaning it's part of the United States, but it's not a state. It has its own internal government and distinct cultural identity, and the federal government handles its foreign affairs and defense. It has a complicated relationship with the mainland, and while it benefits from U.S. citizenship and certain federal aid programs, it also faces staggering economic challenges. For years, Puerto Rico has been grappling with a debt crisis that has led to austerity measures, mass migration, and crumbling infrastructure. Add to that the devastation caused by hurricanes, a series of earthquakes in 2019 and 2020, and the global pandemic, and you have an island that's been stretched thin in every possible way. The result? Many families are strained to make ends meet. When economic hardship hits, pets, who require food, shelter, and medical care, become an expense that some families can no longer afford. Some are left to fend for themselves. Others are dumped in remote areas or on the beaches, left confused and alone. That's how we get to a place like Dead Dog Beach. Yes, that is a real place. Located on the southeastern coast of Puerto Rico, Dead Dog Beach has long been a notorious dumping ground for unwanted pets. It's here where Chrissy Beckles first came face to face with the reality of the island's stray crisis, and it was here that the Sato Project was born.
That was one of the first things that struck me, because I've traveled quite a lot in Europe when I was younger. And you would see stray dogs, but I've never seen anything like I've seen in Puerto Rico. Never.
Now, Chrissy is not your typical animal rescuer. In fact, before she ever set foot on Puerto Rican soil, she was an athlete, a boxer to be exact. Her life was one of discipline, training, and competition. But when her husband Bobby's work took them to Puerto Rico, she was confronted with something that would change her life forever: the sight of countless stray dogs wandering the streets, beaches, and highways.
He went to Puerto Rico for a few months to work on a movie with Benicio del Toro, and I went to spend a week with him, and my mind was blown by what I saw. I mean, he had a particularly awful experience. They were driving to set one day, and my husband's a stuntman, so there was a busload of stuntmen driving up into the rainforest, and there was a mother dog and her puppies crossing the road. And the bus driver just didn't stop. He just plowed through them. And everybody on the bus was like freaking out and like, you have to stop. You just hit that dog. And, you know, the driver was like, oh, it's just a Sato.
The word Sato is slang in Caribbean countries for a stray or mixed breed dog. But in some cases, it's used to describe a person of mixed heritage, and sometimes it's even thrown around to suggest that someone is unsophisticated or from a lower social class. So, you know, it's not a nice thing to be called.
You know, it was so shocking, and they ended up saving like two of the puppies, but it was just like so mind-blowing. And he did not tell me this until after I'd left the island, because he knew I was going to get vigilante. At the end of the week, I got on the plane and I was kind of plotting what I was going to do. And I didn't really know what that plan looked like, but I knew that I was not going to forget and I needed to do something about it. I searched and found a couple of like static websites for rescues in Puerto Rico, and I started volunteering for them. And 12 months later, we adopted our first Sato.
As I said before, there are nearly 650,000 stray dogs on Puerto Rico. Imagine over 500,000 strays roaming Connecticut, which is roughly the same size as the island. Chrissy's puppy came from one of the 5 municipal shelters on the island. It was heartbreaking to see the conditions inside. Because of overcrowding and limited resources for the sick or injured animals, impounded dogs and cats are often given less than 48 hours to be claimed, after which they are euthanized. There's so little hope for these animals. The Humane Society of Puerto Rico estimates the kill rate to be somewhere between 94 and 96%.
The minute she arrived in our lives, it was kind of game over. I would look at her and just be like, wow, I need to do more. This was a puppy who was the only survivor out of her family. She was dumped in one of the 5 municipal shelters along with her mother. Her mother died. 2 of her siblings died in the shelter as well. She and her sister made it out, and her sister died on the way to the vet in the car. Boom was my husband's boxing ring name that I took over when I started boxing. And so because she was a fighter, we called her Boom Boom. And that little dog changed my life.
Knowing how little was done in the shelters to save or rehome strays and seeing firsthand the number of dogs on the streets and beaches, Chrissy decided to do more than just volunteer. What started as a small-scale effort, feeding and caring for a few dogs at a time, quickly grew into something much bigger. In 2011, she founded the Sato Project, a nonprofit dedicated to rescuing thousands of abused and abandoned dogs in Puerto Rico and finding them forever homes on the U.S. mainland. Chrissy hoped the disparaging name Sato would turn into one of optimism and promise. It is one of the most successful animal rescue organizations operating today in Puerto Rico. And it's run almost entirely on the passion and dedication of its volunteers.
So my name is Natalia Rivera. I live in Puerto Rico. I'm an agronomist and I work with the University of Puerto Rico Mayagüez campus.
So my name is Samuel Prieto. I'm from Colombia, but I live here in Puerto Rico 15 years, 16 years.
For Natalia, Rivera, and Samuel Prieto, volunteering with the Sato Project started as a simple act of compassion, feeding and monitoring stray dogs at Dead Dog Beach in Yabacoa on the island's southeastern shore. Technically, the beach is called Playa Lucia, once a popular recreational spot for beachgoers, but without proper maintenance, its pool and cabana facilities turned to a wasteland of trash and graffiti. It also became a dumping ground for unwanted animals. It's a place where terrified, starving, and often sick dogs are left to fend for themselves. Many don't survive. Some die of hunger or disease. Others are hit by cars, intentionally or not. And some are subjected to human cruelty like burning and target practice.
Can you describe your typical day-to-day responsibilities and the challenges that you face in rescuing and caring for homeless animals on the island?
So we go to the beach
Every day.
every day. We patrol the area. We have a pack of dogs that we feed. We take care for them, water, food. But when we can see a new dog that is not part of the regular dogs that are there, so that means someone went there and dumped them. I mean, we go there every day. I mean, the beach is huge, like 144 acres. And you know that animal didn't arrive there alone.
Has it always been like this? Like, how long has this been going on? Do you know?
We had some events here in Puerto Rico. We are in an economic crisis. But then we have hurricanes, we have earthquakes, we have the pandemic. A lot of people with all those problems, they left the island. So they left their pets. So those pets sadly became homeless and in the streets. And all that contributes to what we have now.
Or the people that live here doesn't have the money to
take care of them.
Chrissy was determined to rescue and rehome as many feral or abandoned Satos from Dead Dog Beach as she could. Since its inception, the Sato Project has found forever homes for over 8,000 dogs, spayed, neutered, and vaccinated over 10,000 animals and counting, and distributed 150,000 pounds of disaster relief, all thanks to its donors and volunteers both on the ground and in the air. One of the most extraordinary aspects of the Sato Project is its transport program. They have flown thousands of rescued dogs to new homes in the U.S. through their Freedom Flights program, which operates from Puerto Rico to New York, where adoptive families are waiting.
When you're flying these planes up from Puerto Rico to New York and chartering them, Sato Project is paying for that flight.
Yep.
And you do your fundraising in order to be able to cover
Correct.
all those costs. Okay.
Yeah.
So the flight, because I was like, wait a minute, if you're a charter company is not going to continuously gift.
No. There's a couple that we work with that are, that have been very generous. And quite often we become friendly with a couple of pilots, who will say like, oh, I'm going to waive my fee. I'm going to, donate my time. We work with the Bloomberg team in Morristown, and they have been so incredibly supportive. Mr. Bloomberg has done such an incredible job, empowering his employees to get involved in philanthropic causes.
One of those flights is indelibly etched in Chrissy's mind. It was sometime after one of their many natural disasters when she received a phone call from a Puerto Rican family in New York. Their senior parents were living on the island and had just lost their home. The couple had the opportunity to move to the mainland, but had to leave without their pets. They refused.
We'd got a message from a family on Long Island, And it was their daughter who had reached out, and her parents were on the west side of the island. They had lost their home and they were refusing to leave because they had 2 dogs. She was really upset. She's like, my parents are elderly, but they won't leave because of the dogs.
Okay.
So we were able to communicate to say, like, hey, we have this flight. Your parents are going to be able to leave. Like, you tell your parents to bring the dogs to this airport. They don't need crates. They don't need anything. Just bring the dogs there. And then I will get the dogs to New York. And this elderly couple came to the airport with their 2 dogs. And the husband was telling me that they'd always had 1 dog and his brother had lived next door, and his brother had cancer and his brother had a dog, and his brother had made him promise on his deathbed that he would care for his dog when he died. So he took his brother's dog in. So they had the 2 dogs, and he was saying to me, I'm going to get emotional now. Like, I made a promise to my brother, like I couldn't leave his dog and I didn't want to leave our dog. They must have been in their 80s. They lost their home. They were living in their car with these 2 dogs. And their daughter was trying desperately to get them to leave. Like, she had plane tickets for them and they would not leave because of their dogs. Yeah. One of the greatest moments of my life was to be able to say to him, like, I am going to put your dogs on this plane, like, carry them on. And he carried them on the plane with me. I had one, he had the other. And it was like, please go get on a plane yourself. Like, your dogs are safe. Yeah. I'm going to get them to New York. Your daughter's going to be there to meet them. And you will be able to see your dogs later tonight. I have this photograph of him and he's smiling. And I swear to God, his smile would have, like, restored the entire island's electricity.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was beaming. That moment I got very good at asking people for planes. I got awarded a humanitarian award. I think it was like 2 weeks after that, and I had to get to LA. It was from Variety magazine. I stood up in a room full of Hollywood heavyweights, and I asked for fucking planes. I was like, if anyone wants to help, I know a lot of you have access to planes. I need fucking planes. Like, this is what I need. And I've been very good at asking for them since, because you know what? You never know who knows someone who knows someone. And it's paid off sometimes.
Every dog that boards one of these flights has been given a second chance. In the case of the Long Island family, the pets were reunited with their owners. However, the vast majority of other rescues are abandoned, malnourished, or injured animals. Thanks to the Sato Project, they receive medical care, vaccinations, and behavioral training before they're placed in loving homes. For the volunteers and rescuers, these flights are emotional. Each dog represents a life saved, a suffering ended, and a future rewritten. Hearing these stories, it's clear that the impact of the Sato Project goes far beyond just rescuing dogs, because rescue is only one part of their mission. Their real goal is to break the cycle. It's about changing lives on both sides of the leash. That and more when we return. We hope you're enjoying this episode of Impactually. Hum Productions is a registered 501c3 media collaborative that uses the power of storytelling to strengthen communities. Through the incredible work of our guests, we connect people, resources, and opportunities, building trust and fostering empowerment. You make that possible. Visit our website, sign up for our newsletter, and click the donate button to support the mission. Follow us on social media and nominate a change maker in your community. Maybe it's even you. Together, we can amplify stories, build connections, and create a more united America. Welcome back. In today's episode, we're shining a spotlight on the Sato Project and their efforts to combat the animal crisis in Puerto Rico, where an estimated 650,000 stray dogs roam the streets. And strays are not unique to Puerto Rico. The U.S. mainland faces a similar problem. A national database provided by Shelter Animals Count estimates that in 2024, roughly 5.8 million stray animals entered shelters in the United States. Dogs make up half that number. Cities like Detroit, San Antonio, and Los Angeles estimate 35,000 to 50,000 stray dogs alone. Factors like abandonment, lack of affordable veterinary care, and limited animal control resources exacerbate the problem. In Georgia, where the number of strays in the state is close to 500,000, organizations like Fix Georgia Pets are mobilizing to funnel spay and neuter resources and grants directly to other nonprofits that are battling pet overpopulation. Internationally, the Humane Society operates in over 50 countries and often works with government agencies conducting large-scale spay-neuter campaigns. A key program involves training local veterinarians to sustain the work, helping communities manage stray populations humanely. The hard truth is that rescue alone will never solve this crisis. No matter how many dogs the Sato Project and like-minded organizations save, as long as unsterilized animals continue to breed, the population will continue to grow. That's why, according to Chrissy Beckles, founder and president of the Sato Project, spay and neuter efforts are at the heart of their mission.
We have, as an organization, had to make a pivot to our approach to rescue because we hit a wall and I'm looking at the island and the numbers and I said to my team, like, we cannot rescue our way out of this. Mm-hmm. We can't. There's no way. You know, I can be all sunshine and rainbows and lie to you, but we cannot rescue our way out of this. With every resource in the world, we couldn't. So what do we do you've got to then look at, like, how do you get to the root of the problem? And it's spaying and neutering. Okay. So we implemented OperationSato, which is our high quality, high volume spay neuter vaccine and microchip initiative.
Since launching OperationSato, their large-scale spay and neuter campaign, the Sato Project has sterilized thousands of animals at low or no cost to pet owners and rescuers. But it isn't easy when it comes to the cultural differences between the mainland and the islanders. Dr. Nell Gridley is an emergency veterinarian in New York City. Having studied veterinary medicine in St. George, Grenada, a Caribbean island known not only for its beauty and spices, but also for its poverty, Dr. Gridley understands firsthand the plight of homeless animals and the urgency to spay and neuter.
Other countries have a very different idea of what it is to own a pet, care for a pet, what role pets play in their communities. At least my experience in Grenada is cats and dogs down there, especially dogs, aren't really seen as pets. They're not really animals that come in the house. They live on the property. People will feed them and they'll say, oh yeah, that's my dog. But it's more of an idea of property as opposed to a family member.
How do you approach conversations about spay neuter with pet owners or community leaders?
It's hard to explain the importance of pet health when the general idea surrounding health in a community isn't there, like even your own well-being, taking yourself to the doctor because you don't have the money to do so, or the doctor is 2 hours away. In countries like Puerto Rico and less affluent places in the States, if people don't have health insurance, you're less inclined to go to the doctor unless something's really wrong. So if a person is barely willing to go to a doctor, I can't be surprised when they don't want to take their pet to the vet.
Right.
Or I got a lot of questions when I was at school. Why would I do this? Why would I spend my money? That dog just lives in my yard. It's very hard to convince them to pay for a surgery. Most third years in vet schools, the first surgeries we learn are spays and neuters. And we, at least at St. George's, would go throughout the community, offer free spay and neuter to these people if they would sign their dogs up. And at the same time, we vaccinate. We give them flea and tick preventatives. We send them home with a couple months supply of those things, but it was met with a lot of resistance. It's not part of their culture. And so we do sort of butt heads a little bit. Because I can preach as much as I want to, but I can't force them to do anything. Keeping it as simple as possible and just saying that spaying and neutering your pets is one of the best things that you can do for them proactively to keep them from getting sick in certain ways. It prevents you from having to take them in for life-saving surgery that maybe you can't afford. And it just ends up being better for the pets in general. And then you don't have to worry about if they get out and accidentally get pregnant. So the more dogs we have, the more intact females that we have who are able to have puppies, the more we're going to have to combat for resources, because these dogs also need to eat. They're going to root through the garbages. They're going to, beg at your doorstep for food that you may not be able to give them. If we can spay and neuter 20% of the dogs every year, we're slowly lessening that number and doing our best to offer it in low cost to no cost ways, whether that's giving support to vets already on the island, flying vets in who are willing to donate their time and their resources and their skills to come onto the island and spay and neuter for 1 week. It relies on our administrations and our government to provide funds for this, and it relies a lot on volunteers and donations to have the funds to provide low-cost clinics.
Chrissy couldn't agree more, and back in 2020 was part of the solution.
We had been part of Spayathon for Puerto Rico, which was this huge initiative that came out of Hurricane Maria. We were one of the founding coalition members. It was this massive spay and neuter initiative that the Humane Society spearheaded. They brought together a coalition of 25 organizations. We were one. They brought in vetting teams, and we did 6 rounds of spay neuter vaccine services and serviced like 58,000 animals. But that ended. Our last round of Spayathon was in February 2020.
The COVID-19 pandemic shuttered Puerto Rico and most of the world in March of that same year.
Puerto Rico was the first state to close during COVID. Everything was closed down, so people lost their jobs hand over fist. And the economic climate was already not good. And so people were really struggling. And when you're struggling and you can't put food on the table, then, you're going to struggle to feed your pet too. People had left the island and didn't have a way to take their animals with them. So there were a lot of new animals that entered the already growing stray population during COVID. No vets offices were open, so there's no access to spay or neuter services. So then the population explodes. For every year that spay and neuter services aren't readily available, the rescue community gets put back 10 years. We essentially had like 2 years of COVID, so we got put back like 20 years.
The truth is, even with the heroic efforts of volunteers, veterinarians, and donors, the crisis then and now is far from over. What lasting solutions can we build? What barriers still stand in the way? And most importantly, how do we ensure that 10, 20, even 50 years from now, we aren't still fighting the same battle? Well, it starts with a vision, a future where every animal in Puerto Rico has a chance at a safe, healthy life. But getting there, that's going to take us some work. One of the biggest roadblocks in solving this crisis is the lack of law enforcement when it comes to animal welfare. Technically, Puerto Rico does have animal protection laws, but there's a problem. Here again are Natalia and Samuel.
Right now, we are seeing maybe more awareness of people, like trying to change their beliefs and animal welfare. And we have a law, a welfare law for all animals here on the island. The problem is that people don't know about the law, or just they don't enforce it.
Yeah.
While enforcement is crucial, changing laws alone won't solve the problem. We also need to change hearts and minds. In many parts of Puerto Rico, especially in rural areas, dogs are still seen as property rather than family members. Many people don't spay or neuter their pets simply because they don't know why they should. That's why education is just as important as rescue. Natalia also works with the University of Puerto Rico's Agricultural Extension Service and is using education to make a difference.
We educate a lot. In our other job, we work with kids. We try to educate kids, how to have a pet so we could think of a better future where we don't see all those animals, on the streets. I mean, people who have received our services, you can see it. They tell you, thank you for your work. And we see it when we participate on all those vaccine clinics, and then the OperationSato, which is the spay and neuter campaign. People will tell you and they will say thank you, and you will see it on social media when they write those messages.
Another critical piece to this puzzle is infrastructure. Currently, there's only a handful of animal shelters in Puerto Rico. Most of them are overcrowded, underfunded, and struggling to keep up with the demand. That's why the Sato Project is working not only to rescue animals, but to expand resources for animal care on the island. One of their biggest goals for the future, opening a dedicated veterinary clinic. Right now, most of their spay-neuter clinics are done in temporary locations, meaning they have to constantly transport equipment, set up, and break down. A permanent high-volume spay-neuter clinic would allow them to sterilize more animals per day, provide medical care for injured strays, and offer low-cost veterinary services to their community. But again, funding is the major hurdle.
If I had the funds, I would do an OperationSato every month. It is so needed. And sadly, it is so hard to fundraise around spaying and neutering. I can put a picture up of a sad dog, that's full of mange or has a broken limb, and we'll get inundated with donations. But you ask for donations for spay and neuter, and it's almost crickets, because it's not, for want of a better word, sexy. It's not. What I want people to understand is you can donate to help that one dog, and you'll help that one dog. Mm-hmm. If you donate to spay and neuter, you can help as many as 67,000 dogs by spaying or neutering just one. And if people can get that into their head that you can help one, or you can potentially help 67,000 from a life of suffering, then that's the message I want to get across. Okay. It's not sexy, but you know what? You know what is sexy? When I have a line of people that have lined up for 12 hours, that have stayed overnight to get a spot at one of our events. Mm-hmm. What's sad is when I have to turn away 100 people that aren't going to get a spot. They love their animals and they don't have the resources to get them vetted properly. Spaying and neutering in Puerto Rico is, it's not New York prices. You could go to a vet and get your dog spayed for $120, $150. In Puerto Rico, it might as well have another zero on it. It might as well be $1,500. The municipality where we concentrate our work in Yabacoa, the average household income is $17,000 for a household of 4.3 people.
For Chrissy, saving stray dogs in Puerto Rico is about more than just rescuing animals. It's about resilience, survival, and hope, qualities she sees not only in the abandoned dogs that she fights for every day, but also for the Puerto Rican people themselves.
Because in my mind, these dogs are a direct mirror and correlation of the Puerto Rican people. Like, they are resilient and they are smart and they have a way of moving forward through every kind of disaster and horror possible, and still being loving and friendly and, having a zest for life at the end of it. They get through hurricanes and earthquakes and pandemics, and people still keep moving forward, and these dogs do exactly the same. At the end of the day, we're all Satos, right? We're all, a bit of this and a bit of that.
We've talked about the problem, we've talked about the solutions, and now it's time for action. Here's how you can help, starting now. Volunteer. You don't have to live in Puerto Rico to help. You can volunteer remotely, help with fundraising, or assist at events in the U.S., or assist at events in the U.S. Foster or adopt. If you have space in your home, fostering a dog, even for a few weeks, can literally save a life. And if you're ready for a lifelong companion, consider adopting a rescued Sato from your local shelter. Donate. Every dollar helps. Whether it's $5 or $500, your contribution funds spay, neuter surgeries, medical care, and rescue efforts. Spread the word. Share this episode. Tell your friends about the Sato Project. The more people who know, the more support we can build. And support legislation. Push for better enforcement for animal welfare, and wherever you are, support policies that protect animals and fund spay-neuter programs, because at the end of the day, this isn't just an animal issue, it's a community issue, and together we have the power to create real, lasting change. Impactually is created and produced in cooperation with Hum Productions. Financial support for this show is provided by Corey and Jack Chandler, April Collins Potterfield, David Johnson and Christine O'Neill, JLB Images, and listeners like you. To learn more about Hum, become a sponsor, or stay updated, visit our website, sign up for our newsletter, or click the donate button to support our mission. Our web address is hum, that's HUMM, productions, plural, .org. We would like to extend our sincerest thanks to our guests, Chrissy Beckles, Natalia Rivera, and Samuel Prieto. You can find more information about them and the work they do at thesatoproject.org or in our show notes. Additional thanks to Dr. Nell Gridley, DVM, for speaking with us. A very special thanks to the Candencia Orchestra for sharing their songs Puerto Rico Te Estrano and Diaspora Puerto Ricana off their LP En Otro Barrio. We have a link to their website and social media in our show notes, and their music is available on all major streaming platforms. And our team, Jacob Motz, head writer, Christine Murdoch, senior producer and editor, production coordinator, Sonia Berg, director of operations, Jack Bechtold, Richard Cassis of Spark Inc. for Impactually's digital artwork, Andrew Sachs for our original music. Special thanks to the Hum Productions Board of Directors and Mentors for their leadership and dedication to our mission. And I'm Brooke Bechtold, executive producer, creator, and host. Subscribe and listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify. We really appreciate it as it helps others find us too. We'd love to hear from you, so send us an email or find us on social media. Pitch us ideas about people who you think would be great to have on our show. Maybe it's even you. We'll be back soon with another extraordinary episode. Everyone has a story. Share.